What is the situation across Ukraine tonight? This is the situation across Ukraine tonight. Russia advancing in the east and especially in the south. The port of Mariupol is under constant attack, with the city left without any water or power supply, and the mayor saying Russia has cut all rail links out. To the west, Russia says the city of Kherson is now under its complete control, while a group of Russian amphibious landing ships is heading towards the port of Odessa, according to the Ukrainian military. Ukraine's emergency services have said 33 people were killed in Chernihiv after a Russian airstrike hit 2 schools and houses. The second city of Kharkiv is also seeing continued shelling, and much of the center of the city has been reduced to rubble. Nuclear power plant captured by Russian troops. There's been an update on the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the south of Ukraine in the last few minutes. A fire erupted in a training building at the plant early this morning after being attacked by Russian troops. As of 5 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, firefighters had extinguished the blaze. However, Ukrainian officials now report that the plant in Energodar is captured by military forces of the Russian Federation. In a statement, the State Inspectorate for Nuclear Regulation said information on deaths and injuries was unclear. It added that power units remain integrity, and damage to the construction of one reactor unit does not affect the safety of the power unit. Systems and elements important for the safety of the nuclear power plant are in working condition, the SINR said. Changes in the radiation state for the current time have not been recorded. U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken to Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky to receive an update on the fire at Europe's largest nuclear power plant, the White House has said. During the call, he joined the Ukrainian president in urging Russia to cease its military activities in the area and allow firefighters access to the site, it added. Biden also received an update on the situation from the U.S. Energy Department's Undersecretary for Nuclear Security, it said. American national security consultant John Wolfsthal has taken to Twitter to urge people to take a step back and not jump to conclusions over the reported fire at Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine. Earlier, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba warned that if the Zaporizhzhia power station blows up, it will be 10 times larger than Chernobyl. However, Mr. Wolfsthal suggests the comment should be taken with a pinch of salt, as the reactor at the plant is not the same type that was at Chernobyl. We don't know what we don't know. There is a major difference between a support facility or storage building being on fire and the plant itself being heavily damaged. But the design of the VVER is inherently more safe and protected than the Chernobyl RBMK systems, he wrote. You can read his full thread on Twitter by clicking the tweet below. Russian human rights activist and former world chess champion Garry Kasparov has urged world powers to adopt a harsher military and economic strategy against Russian President Vladimir Putin for his invasion of Ukraine. In an interview with Reuters, Mr. Kasparov called on Western countries to recall their ambassadors from Moscow, eject Russia from the global police agency Interpol, and impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, a request that has been repeatedly denied by world leaders. Russia should be thrown back into the Stone Age to make sure that the oil and gas industry and any other sensitive industries that are vital for survival of the regime cannot function without Western technological support, Mr. Kasparov said. Sanctions so far imposed by the United States and other NATO countries have isolated Russia to an unprecedented extent. Mr. Kasparov also took aim at U.S. President Joe Biden for not taking more aggressive action at Putin earlier. I hope that Americans will revise their strategy and will show strength, he said. Ukraine's foreign minister has confirmed a fire has broken out at part of Europe's nuclear power plant after the Russian army fired at it from all sides. Dmytro Kuleba said on Twitter, fire has already broken out. If it blows up, it will be 10 times larger than Chernobyl. He is referring to the 1986 accident in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which took place when the country was part of the Soviet Union. It is considered to be the worst nuclear disaster in history. Russians must immediately cease the fire, allow firefighters to establish a security zone, Mr. Kuleba added. As we told you in our previous post, a spokesperson for the Zaporizhzhia power plant has also urged Russian forces to stop their attack. It should be noted that Ukraine's State Emergency Service has said a fire has broken out outside the plant's perimeter at a training building, but it was not immediately clear whether this is the same blaze. Satellites as small as a shoebox are giving the public eyes and ears on a conflict zone as never before, Sky News has been told. The military has had access to crisp battlefield images for many years, but great strides in technology have made it possible for private companies to launch their own satellites that give an independent view of troop movements and bomb damage. Sky News has been inside the dust-free clean room of Spire, which builds nano-satellites on a Glasgow business park. It already has around 120 satellites in orbit, measuring just 10 cm x 10 cm x 30 cm. You can read more on this story on the link below. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has shared a video of a Ukrainian man describing life in the country since Russian forces first entered the country in 2014. In the clip, Stanislav Asayev says, "When the Russians came to my house in 2014, I was 24 years old, and I was a completely different person. During the next 6 years, I felt the wires on my fingers, electric shock passed through me. I was beaten, thrown into basements, and threatened with rape." He added, "All this has a clear and very short name: Russian peace." Mr. Blinken praised Mr. Asayev, calling him a brave voice of Ukraine. The United States will grant temporary deportation relief to tens of thousands of Ukrainians already in the country, the country's Department for Homeland Security has announced. Work permits will also be approved for Ukrainians, as they are unable to return to the country due to the ongoing conflict with Russia. The move will allow Ukrainians in the U.S. to remain and work legally for a period of 18 months. The Czech Republic is set to send additional military equipment to Ukraine to assist the country in its battle against Russia. The package, which is worth 17 million crowns, includes hundreds of machine guns and assault rifles, and more than 100,000 ammunition rounds. Earlier today, the Czech Prime Minister announced that Czech nationals will have the chance to join Ukraine's defense forces to battle Russia's invasion without being punished at home. Under Czech law, it is illegal to join foreign armed forces without an exemption from the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the country's army. Google stopped selling advertising in Russia. It was confirmed late last night that Google will stop selling online advertising in Russia, as the world reacts to a week-long conflict in Ukraine. The ban includes advertising on Search, YouTube, and outside publishing partners. Similar decisions were made earlier by Twitter and Snapchat. The fallout of Russia's invasion of Ukraine has continued as the war enters a second week, with Airbnb confirming this morning it will suspend all services in Russia and Belarus. The Ukrainian military has been providing regular updates on the war with Russia, detailing the movements of enemy troops. In the latest, Ukraine says Russia has exhausted most of its operational reserves and is awaiting additional troops and resources from divisions in the south and east. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine says Moscow is still focused on surrounding Kyiv and weakening the resistance in blocked settlements. Meanwhile, officials admitted that Russia has managed to surround Mariupol. The port city in southern Ukraine is without water, electricity, and rail links following what was described as a relentless few days of Russian attacks. The Ukrainian military adds that Russia is preparing for the landing of Marines in Zatoka, on the coast of the Black Sea. The statement says, "In the Black Sea, a naval group of Russian occupiers was withdrawn from naval bases with the task of striking the surface forces of a group of diverse forces of the Ukrainian Navy. At the same time, the enemy continues to prepare for the landing of Marines in Zatoka."